My name is Paula, and I am 58 years old. Today marks 35 years of marriage with my husband, Tom. As we got ready for our anniversary dinner at our favorite fancy restaurant, I was filled with joy and anticipation. But when our food arrived, Tom barely touched his plate. I asked him about it, but his answer felt off. Then I spotted something tucked under his plate, a small folded note. I reached for it, and what I read next changed everything. Before I continue this story, I would love to know where you are watching from. If this sounds intriguing, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear how a simple piece of paper turned my anniversary upside down. Life with Tom has been a beautiful journey spanning 35 years. We live in a cozy 2-story house in the suburbs of Boston, a home we purchased when our children were still small. Now both our son Michael and daughter Sarah have grown up, graduated college, and moved to different states pursuing their own dreams. Michael works as a software developer in Seattle, while Sarah became a pediatrician in Chicago. I spent my career as an elementary school teacher, pouring my heart into shaping young minds for over 30 years before retiring last year. Tom continues working as a civil engineer at a respected firm in Boston. His dedication to his profession never wavered, often spending long hours ensuring buildings were safe and sound. Our empty nest initially felt strange after decades of chaotic family dinners and helping with homework, but Tom and I rediscovered the joy of having time just for us. We started taking cooking classes together on Tuesdays, joined a local book club, and even took up ballroom dancing every other Thursday. These new adventures brought fresh excitement to our relationship, making this phase of life surprisingly fulfilling. Anniversary celebrations have always been sacred in our marriage. From the very first year, we established a tradition of dressing up and dining at Le Bernardin, a fancy French restaurant downtown. Even when money was tight during the early years with young children and a mortgage, we saved specifically for this annual celebration. Each anniversary holds special memories. For our 10th, Tom surprised me with tickets to Paris, where we spent a magical week exploring the city of love. On our 20th, he arranged a vow renewal ceremony with our closest friends and family in our backyard, decorated with twinkling lights and flowers from our garden. Our 25th brought a Mediterranean cruise where we watched sunsets over the ocean every evening. What makes Tom truly special is his attention to thoughtful gifts. He remembers small details from conversations months prior. One year, he gifted me a first edition of my favorite childhood book after I mentioned missing it during a casual conversation. Another time, he commissioned an artist to paint our first home that we had sold years before. These gestures always remind me why I fell in love with him. His kindness extends beyond just me to everyone in his life, from remembering our postal worker with Christmas cookies to mentoring young engineers starting their careers. For our 35th anniversary, I wanted everything to be perfect. 3 weeks ago, I made reservations at the Harborview Restaurant, an elegant establishment overlooking Boston Harbor, where Tom proposed to me all those years ago. They even remembered us and promised to reserve the same table by the window with the spectacular view of the water. I spent hours shopping for the perfect dress, eventually finding a deep burgundy cocktail dress that made me feel beautiful, despite the extra pounds and wrinkles that come with age. I scheduled an appointment at the salon for a fresh haircut and style splurged on a manicure, and even bought new perfume for the occasion. The days leading up to our anniversary filled me with excitement and nostalgia. I found myself looking through our wedding album, smiling at our younger selves with big dreams and even bigger hair. I arranged for a special bottle of champagne to be waiting at our table and ordered a custom cake from our favorite bakery to enjoy when we returned home. I imagined us toasting to 35 wonderful years and many more to come, reminiscing about our journey together and dreaming about future adventures. I even prepared a heartfelt card expressing my deepest feelings, something I knew would touch Tom, who always appreciated written words more than expensive gifts. Over the past few weeks, I noticed subtle changes in Tom that initially I brushed aside. He started leaving for work earlier than usual, often before I even woke up. Previously, we always shared morning coffee together, a quiet moment before facing the day. Now, I would come downstairs to a cold coffee pot and a hastily scribbled note about having an early meeting. His return home grew increasingly unpredictable too. Typically home by 6, he started arriving at 7:30 or sometimes even later. When asked, he would mention project deadlines or client meetings running long. While his job occasionally demanded extra hours, this consistent lateness felt unusual. Most concerning were the secretive phone calls. Tom, who normally took calls in our living room or kitchen, began stepping outside onto our back porch when his phone rang. Through the window, I would see him pacing, gesturing animatedly, his expression serious. When he returned inside and I inquired about the calls, his answers felt rehearsed. Just work stuff, nothing important, client issues. One Tuesday while paying bills, I discovered mysterious transactions in our joint account. Several withdrawals of $300 each over the past month from ATMs near his office. When questioned, Tom mentioned something vague about office collections for retiring colleagues. It seemed plausible, yet his averted eyes made me wonder. There was also a charge from Tiffany & Co. for an amount that made my heart skip. Tom had never mentioned purchasing expensive jewelry, and my birthday was months away. Was he planning a surprise anniversary gift? Or was the gift meant for someone else? I pushed the thought away, feeling guilty for even considering it. The day of our anniversary began like any other. I woke excited, expecting Tom might take the day off, as he sometimes did for special occasions. Instead, he was already dressed for work when I entered the kitchen. Tom looked up from his coffee with an apologetic smile. I hate to do this, but there is a last-minute issue with the downtown project. I need to be there for an inspection and client meeting. I will meet you directly at the restaurant at 7. Okay? Disappointment settled in my chest. I had envisioned us spending the day together, perhaps taking a walk along the harbor, or visiting the art museum that had a new exhibit. Yet I understood his dedication to his work was part of who he was, one of the qualities I had always admired about him. Still, as I kissed him goodbye, something felt off. The cologne he wore was unfamiliar, slightly stronger than his usual subtle scent. His shirt looked brand new, a crisp blue button-down I did not recall purchasing. These small details nagged at me throughout the day. I tried focusing on preparation. I took extra time getting ready, wanting to look my best. As I applied makeup and styled my hair, I practiced pushing away the intrusive thoughts that had been plaguing me. 35 years of trust should not be shaken by a few unusual weeks, I told myself. Yet the doubt had planted its seed. By 6:30, I arrived at the harbor view, checking my appearance one last time before entering. The maitre d' welcomed me warmly, escorting me to our special table with its magnificent view. The restaurant had placed a small 35 made from silver on our table, along with a single red rose. Any other time, this would have filled me with joy. Tonight, I sat alone, checking my watch, repeatedly nursing a glass of wine as I waited. Tom arrived 20 minutes late, slightly out of breath. His tie was askew, and there was a faint sheen of sweat on his forehead, despite the cool October evening. Sorry I am late. Traffic was terrible, he explained, kissing my cheek before sitting down. Our conversation felt forced, nothing like our usually comfortable exchanges. Tom seemed distracted, his responses delayed as if his mind was elsewhere. When I asked about his day, his answer came too quickly, too rehearsed. Just the usual problems with contractors and permit offices. Nothing worth discussing tonight. Let us focus on us. Yet he did not truly focus on us. His eyes frequently scanned the restaurant, and he checked his phone multiple times, keeping it face up beside his plate. When I mentioned plans for possibly visiting Sarah next month, he merely nodded without engaging in the discussion as he normally would have. As we settled into dinner, Tom's behavior grew increasingly unusual. Every time the restaurant door opened, he would glance up anxiously. His leg bounced continuously under the table, a nervous habit I had not seen since our early dating days. He loosened his tie and unbuttoned his top button as if he could not breathe properly. The waiter approached to take our drink orders. Typically, Tom would choose a glass of Cabernet, but tonight he ordered a double Scotch neat, then another shortly after finishing the first. The alcohol did not seem to relax him. If anything, his movements became more jittery, his smile more forced. While waiting for our appetizers, Tom launched into a strange story about his colleague Frank, whose wife discovered he was having an affair with their son's kindergarten teacher. Frank confided in him just yesterday, seeking advice on whether to end his marriage or break things off with the other woman. I stiffened at this topic, studying Tom closely. Why would he bring up infidelity on our anniversary? Was this some sort of confession by proxy, or was he testing my reaction? I asked cautiously what advice he had given Frank. Tom shrugged. I told him he made vows that should mean something, that he needs to think about the consequences, that trust once broken is nearly impossible to restore fully. Then he quickly changed the subject, asking about my book club selection with unusual interest. Our appetizers arrived: beautifully plated scallops for me and French onion soup for Tom. I noticed he merely stirred the soup without taking a spoonful, though normally this was his favorite. Are you feeling okay? I asked. Just not very hungry yet, he replied with a dismissive wave. When our main courses arrived, I gasped appreciatively at the presentation. The chef had outdone himself with my lobster thermidor, the sauce glistening under the soft restaurant lighting. Tom ordered filet mignon cooked medium rare, the way he always enjoyed it. The meat was perfectly prepared, a tempting pink in the center, surrounded by a caramelized exterior, accompanied by roasted fingerling potatoes and asparagus tips. Yet Tom did not reach for his fork. He simply stared at the plate, occasionally pushing the potatoes around without taking a bite. The behavior was so unlike him. Tom typically relished good food, often the first to clear his plate and eye dessert menus. Aren't you going to eat? I finally asked. You always love their filet. Tom smiled thinly. My stomach is a bit off, maybe from the scotch. I will just take it slow. You enjoy yours while it is hot. As I reluctantly began eating my lobster, I could not help but notice how Tom kept checking his watch. He seemed to be waiting for something or someone. My appetite diminished with each passing minute as anxiety replaced hunger. When the waiter returned to check on our meals, he noticed Tom's untouched plate. Is everything all right with your steak, sir? Everything is excellent, Tom assured him. I just need to take a small break before continuing. Please do not remove it. As the waiter repositioned the plate, that's when I saw it. A small corner of white paper peeking out from beneath Tom's plate. It clearly did not belong there, too deliberate to be a stray napkin fragment or receipt. My heart began pounding as questions flooded my mind. Had someone slipped him a note? Had he placed it there himself? I tried to focus on my meal while my mind raced with possibilities. Was it a message from another woman? A love note? Or something innocent? I was overreacting too. The paper seemed to grow in my peripheral vision, demanding attention I could not give while Tom sat across from me. After what felt like an eternity, Tom excused himself to use the restroom. I watched as he walked across the restaurant, disappearing around a corner. The moment he was out of sight, I reached across the table. My fingers trembled as I carefully extracted the folded paper from beneath his plate. It was a small square, neatly folded twice. I opened it slowly, half afraid of what I might discover. The note was written in neat block letters, clearly meant to be easily read. The message was brief but devastating. 8:00 p.m., Marriott Hotel Room 302. She will be waiting. The world around me seemed to freeze. The elegant restaurant with its soft lighting and gentle music faded away. All I could see were those words burning into my consciousness. She will be waiting. She, not me. Someone else. 35 years of memories flashed before my eyes in an instant. Our wedding day, when Tom looked at me with such adoration. The night Michael was born, when Tom cried holding our son for the first time. Building sandcastles with Sarah at Cape Cod. Christmas mornings and Thanksgiving dinners. Holding each other through my father's funeral. Dancing in our kitchen on random Tuesday nights. Had it all been a lie, or had something changed? When had I stopped being enough? Questions assaulted my mind as physical pain clutched at my chest. I felt nauseated, lightheaded, as though I might faint right there at our anniversary dinner. With shaking hands, I refolded the note exactly as it had been and slipped it back under his plate. I took several deep breaths trying to compose myself before Tom returned. I could not let him see how shattered I felt inside. Not yet. Not until I understood what was happening. I glanced at my watch. 7:45. 15 minutes until the mysterious meeting at the Marriott, which was only 2 blocks away from the restaurant. The timing could not be coincidental. When Tom returned to the table, I forced a smile that felt like it might crack my face. He seemed more relaxed now, perhaps believing he would soon escape to his rendezvous. I studied his features, the face I had loved for decades, searching for signs of the man I thought I knew. "Do you want to know what I was thinking?" I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. Tom looked slightly startled. "What, honey? I was just remembering our honeymoon in Maui. Remember how it rained the entire first 3 days and we never left the hotel room?" I managed a small laugh, amazed at my ability to carry on this charade. Relief visibly washed over him. He clearly had expected a different conversation. Yes, it turned out perfectly, though. We got to know every inch of that room. His attempt at humor fell flat as I caught the double meaning that he seemed to miss. A battle raged within me. Should I confront him now? Throw the note in his face and demand an explanation? Or should I wait and gather more evidence? The latter felt more rational, though every fiber of my being wanted to scream in rage at this betrayal. Tom glanced at his watch again, then back at me with a strained smile. "I hate to cut this short, Paula, but I just got a text from the office. There is an emergency with the downtown project. A support beam calculation was done incorrectly, and they need me to review the numbers immediately." The lie rolled off his tongue so easily that I wondered how many other lies I had believed over the years. Had there been other women, other hotels, other anniversary dinners cut short? "I think we should skip dessert," he continued, already signaling for the check. "I am really sorry about this. We can celebrate properly this weekend, maybe take a drive up the coast." His voice had an eager quality, clearly wanting a quick escape. The waiter arrived with the check, which Tom paid hurriedly, adding a generous tip that seemed designed to compensate for the barely touched meal. As we walked out of the restaurant, he kissed my cheek and promised to make it up to me. "You head home and relax. This might take a few hours. Do not wait up, okay?" With that, he was already stepping toward the curb to hail a taxi. "Sure," I said, matching his casual tone. "Drive safely if you take the car later." As his taxi pulled away, I stood on the sidewalk momentarily frozen in indecision. Then clarity came. I would not go home to cry into my pillow. I would know the truth no matter how painful. I walked to the parking garage where I had left my car. My hands shook so badly I dropped my keys twice before managing to unlock the door. Sitting behind the wheel, I gave myself a moment to breathe deeply to focus on the task ahead. The Marriott was visible from where I was parked, its illuminated sign a beacon guiding me toward a truth I both dreaded and needed. I started the engine determination, replacing some of the pain. Whatever awaited me in room 302, I would face it with dignity. The Marriott stood tall and imposing against the evening sky, its glass facade reflecting city lights. This was one of Boston's more upscale hotels, with marble floors in the lobby and fresh flower arrangements on every available surface. A hotel for business executives and wealthy tourists, not the kind of place one would choose for a cheap affair. I parked in the public garage across the street, choosing a spot with a clear view of the hotel entrance. From here, I could watch without being easily noticed. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, my knuckles turned white as I scanned for any sign of Tom. At 7:55, exactly as I expected, a taxi pulled up to the hotel entrance. Tom emerged, straightening his tie and smoothing his hair before heading inside. What caught my attention was the large gift bag he carried, professionally wrapped with silver tissue paper, peeking from the top. A birthday gift for his lover, an anniversary present that should have been mine. My stomach twisted with fresh pain as I watched him disappear through the revolving doors. I sat motionless for several minutes trying to process what I was about to do. Was I ready to see my husband with another woman, to have visual confirmation of his betrayal? The thought made me physically ill, yet I knew I could not turn back now. I needed to know to see with my own eyes, even if it destroyed me. With trembling legs, I exited my car and walked across the street toward the hotel. Each step felt heavy, as if my body was warning me to turn around to preserve the life I thought I had. But my mind was set. I would not live a lie. The lobby was busy with evening check-ins and business people heading to dinner. No one paid attention to me as I crossed the polished floor to the bank of elevators. I pressed the button for the third floor, my reflection in the mirrored doors, showing a woman I barely recognized. My carefully applied makeup now seemed garish. My new dress a pathetic attempt to compete with someone who had already won. The elevator announced my arrival with a soft ding. I stepped into a hallway carpeted in rich burgundy and gold patterns. Room numbers guided me to the right. 313, 312, 310. My heart pounded harder with each step closer to room 302. As I approached, I heard voices from within. Laughter. Multiple voices. Not just Tom and one woman, but several people. Confusion momentarily replaced my dread. What kind of affair involved multiple people? I stood frozen before the door, straining to make sense of the sounds within. Music played softly. I could hear clinking glasses, more laughter. Was this some kind of party? Had Tom left our anniversary dinner for a work function he had not bothered to invite me to? I raised my hand to knock, then hesitated. What would I say? How would I explain my presence before I could decide the decision was made for me? The door swung open as someone was leaving, and suddenly I was face to face with my husband. Tom's expression shifted from shock to panic to what looked oddly like relief. "Paula," he exclaimed, reaching for my hand. "You got here faster than I expected." Before I could respond, he pulled me into the room, and I found myself standing before a crowd of familiar faces. Our children, Michael and Sarah. My sister Judy and her husband. Tom's brother Patrick. At least a dozen of our closest friends. All looking at me with expectant smiles. The room was decorated with anniversary banners and photographs from our 35 years together. A table held a magnificent cake. Another was filled with wrapped gifts. On the wall hung a banner, "Still crazy about you after 35 years. Tom cleared his throat, addressing the confused silence. "Well, the surprise is a bit spoiled, but here she is. Everyone, I think I might have left the note a bit too visible," he said with a nervous laugh. What is all this?" I managed to ask, my mind struggling to reconcile what I was seeing with what I had feared. Sarah stepped forward, hugging me tightly. "It is your surprise anniversary party. Dad has been planning it for months. He wanted to do something really special for 35 years. We all flew in to celebrate with you." Michael joined the hug. "The restaurant was just the first part. Dad was supposed to make an excuse to bring you here without making you suspicious. Looks like you figured it out, though." I looked at Tom, who was watching me with a mixture of amusement and concern. "The note," I whispered. He leaned close to my ear. The note was my reminder. 8 p.m. Marriott room 302. She will be waiting. She meant Sarah. She arrived this morning and has been coordinating everything. I was so nervous about keeping the surprise that I wrote myself a reminder. I must have accidentally left it visible when the waiter served our food. Relief washed over me in such a powerful wave that my knees nearly buckled. Tom caught my elbow, steadying me. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "I am now," I whispered back, fighting tears that threatened to ruin my makeup. "I am so much better now." The evening unfolded into one of the most beautiful celebrations we had ever experienced. Our children had compiled a video montage of family moments throughout the years, from grainy footage of our early days to recent holiday gatherings. Friends stood to share stories and memories, some heartwarming, others hilariously embarrassing. As champagne flowed and conversation filled the elegantly decorated hotel suite, I found myself watching Tom across the room. He looked so handsome in his suit, laughing with our son about some shared joke. How could I have doubted him? The shame of my suspicions weighed heavily on me. When Tom finally made his way back to my side, he wrapped an arm around my waist and kissed my temple. "You seem surprised in more ways than one," he whispered. "Is everything okay?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. But Tom knew me too well after 35 years. He guided me toward the small balcony overlooking the city lights, closing the door behind us for privacy. "Something is bothering you, Paula. I can see it in your eyes." What happened, the cool evening air, and the relative privacy finally broke my composure. Tears spilled down my cheeks as I confessed. "I thought you were having an affair. The late nights, the secret phone calls, the cash withdrawals. And then that note. I followed you here because I thought you were meeting another woman." Tom's face registered shock, then profound sadness. He took both my hands in his. "You thought I would cheat on you after everything we have built together. The withdrawals were to save for the party without you seeing the expenses on our credit card statements," he explained. "The phone calls were to coordinate with Sarah and Michael about their flights and the surprise arrangements. The Tiffany charge was for this." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small teal box. Inside nestled a stunning diamond eternity band. "I plan to give you this during a toast later, but I think you need it now. This represents my promise that every day of eternity is yours. Only yours. Always yours." I stared at the beautiful ring, then back at my husband. "Tom, I am so sorry I doubted you. I do not know why I let those thoughts take over." He slid the ring onto my finger alongside my wedding band. "It is okay to have fears, Paula. What is not okay is keeping them inside until they grow into something monstrous." "Why did not you talk to me about your concerns?" "I was embarrassed," I admitted. "Afraid of being wrong, but also afraid of being right. I did not want to accuse you without proof." Tom held me close, his familiar scent enveloping me. We stood in silence for several moments, the city lights twinkling below us like earth-bound stars. "I need to tell you something else," Tom finally said. "I noticed you have been distant lately, too. Checking your phone more often, changing your computer password. I had moments of doubt as well. The revelation stunned me. You thought I might be cheating." He nodded. "It crossed my mind. But instead of following you or checking your phone, I chose to trust the woman who has never given me reason to doubt her integrity in 35 years. Maybe that is the difference between worry and suspicion. One acknowledges fear but chooses trust. The other feeds the fear until it consumes the trust. I felt humbled by his wisdom and faith in me. The password change had been nothing more significant than a security update required by my email provider. The phone checking was coordinating with my sister about a surprise weekend trip for Tom planned for next month. Normal, innocent actions viewed through a lens of suspicion could appear sinister. "What do we do now?" I asked softly. Tom smiled, touching my cheek gently. "First, we go back inside and celebrate 35 amazing years with the people who love us. Then tomorrow we start practicing better communication. No more secret worries. We talk even when it is uncomfortable." "Are you angry with me?" I needed to know, disappointed maybe. "In both of us. We should know better by now, but never angry about honesty." He kissed me, then a tender kiss that held forgiveness and promise. As we prepared to rejoin our guests, I stopped him with a hand on his arm. "I need you to know something. Even when I feared the worst, when I stood outside that door, certain I would find you with someone else, I still loved you. I think that scared me most of all." He nodded in understanding. "Love is not the easy part, Paula. Choosing to keep loving through doubt and fear is where the real commitment happens. We just had a refresher course in that lesson tonight." We walked back into the room hand in hand, greeted by cheers and raised glasses from our friends and family who had no idea of the emotional journey we had just navigated. Tom squeezed my hand 3 times our secret code for "I love you" as we prepared to cut our anniversary cake together. The weeks following our anniversary celebration became a time of healing and renewal for our marriage. Initially, I struggled with embarrassment over my suspicions. Each morning, I would wake with a fresh wave of shame, remembering how I had followed Tom to the hotel, convinced of his betrayal. The beautiful eternity ring on my finger served as both a reminder of my mistrust and of the enduring love that had survived it. Tom was patient as I worked through these feelings. You know, he said one evening as we sat on our porch watching the sunset, "I have been thinking about why your suspicions hurt so deeply. It was not just that you thought I could betray you. It was that you believed I could lie to your face day after day. That somehow implies I am capable of exceptional cruelty." His words struck me profoundly. I had not considered how my suspicions reflected on his character, not just his fidelity. I had essentially believed him capable of sustained deception and emotional abuse. The realization made me reach for his hand. "I think my fears were never really about you, Tom. They were about me. About growing older, feeling less desirable, wondering if I was still enough." This honest confession opened a door to deeper conversations. Tom shared his own insecurities about retirement looming in the next few years, his concerns about maintaining his identity beyond work, his fear of becoming irrelevant. We discovered how easily personal anxieties could transform into relationship doubts if left unexamined and unshared. We began a new practice of weekly check-ins. Every Sunday evening, we would share a glass of wine and talk openly about anything bothering us, from minor irritations to deeper concerns. No topic was off limits and no feeling invalid. These conversations sometimes lasted minutes, other times hours, but they always ended with greater understanding. Tom suggested we start dating again, not just anniversary dinners and special occasions, but regular, dedicated time to reconnect. We began trying new restaurants every Friday, taking cooking classes, attending community theater performances, and even rock climbing at an indoor gym, which left us laughing and sore for days afterward. The physical aspect of our relationship deepened as well. There is something powerful about choosing intimacy after confronting the possibility of its loss. We rediscovered each other with a combination of familiar comfort and renewed appreciation, no longer taking for granted the gift of growing older together. One unexpected blessing came through our children. Having witnessed the aftermath of our misunderstanding, both Sarah and Michael sought our advice for their own relationships. Our daughter, going through a rough patch with her boyfriend, called specifically asking how we maintained honest communication through difficulties. Michael and his wife Jennifer visited for a weekend, openly sharing their struggles, balancing careers, and parenting their toddler. Would you believe they think we have all the answers because we have made it 35 years? Tom laughed after they left. If only they knew how close we came to derailing over a misplaced note. But that is the point, isn't it? I realized. We did come close to disaster, but we found our way back. Maybe that is what they need to hear. Not that marriage is easy, but that it is worth fighting for, worth uncomfortable conversations and painful honesty. As months passed, the anniversary incident faded from an open wound to a significant memory, one that taught us valuable lessons. I came to see it as a necessary disruption, a crack in our foundation that allowed us to rebuild something stronger. One evening, while looking through old photo albums, I found our first anniversary picture. We looked so young, so unaware of the journey ahead. Would those two young people recognize us now? Would they understand the depth of commitment required to reach this point? Tom sat beside me examining the photo. "You know what I love most about being married to you for 35 years?" he asked. "What?" "That I keep discovering new things to love. Just when I think I know everything about you, you surprise me. Like how you faced your fears that night at the hotel. You were willing to confront what you thought was the worst possible truth, rather than live with uncertainty. That took immense courage." His words healed something deep within me. I had viewed my actions as shameful, driven by suspicion and fear. Tom saw courage and strength in the same behavior. His perspective helped me forgive myself at last. As we approach our 36th anniversary, I find myself reflecting on the true meaning of commitment. It is not the grand gestures or perfect moments that define a marriage. It is the quiet choice made each day to see the best in your partner, to offer grace for their shortcomings, and to trust even when doubt whispers its poisonous suggestions. Love, after 3 decades, is not the same as newlywed passion. It is deeper, richer, tempered by shared grief and multiplied by shared joy. It is knowing someone better than they know themselves sometimes, yet still being surprised by them. It is building a history so intertwined that separation would mean losing part of yourself. The greatest lesson I learned from our anniversary misunderstanding was that trust is not passive. It is an active choice requiring regular maintenance and honest communication. The moment we begin hiding our fears or avoiding difficult conversations, we create space for doubt to grow. Tom and I now have a saying when one of us seems withdrawn or troubled. Is there a note I should know about? It has become our shorthand for asking if something needs to be discussed before it becomes a problem. This simple question has prevented countless misunderstandings. Our marriage is stronger now than before that fateful anniversary dinner. Sometimes we need to confront our deepest fears to appreciate what we have always had. The note that nearly shattered my world ultimately led to a renewal I never expected. As I look toward our future together, I feel profound gratitude for second chances and for the wisdom that comes from navigating storms together. Tom and I have promised each other that no fear will go unspoken, no worry left to fester in silence. This is our new vow, perhaps more important than those we made as naive youngsters 36 years ago. Have you ever experienced a moment of doubt in your relationship that ultimately led to greater understanding? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that even the strongest relationships require constant nurturing. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you all the courage to choose trust and open communication in your own relationships.